Hello and welcome to another Overlord lore video, and today I'm going to take a look at how the magic system in Overlord works and why there are two of them. And this video is meant as both an explanation of tier and wild magic and as an introduction to new people just happening to stumble upon Overlord for the first time in their life. But before we're going to do so, let me thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, as well as all users of the YouTube thanks function who made one-time donations. Now with that said, before we can take a look at tier magic itself, we perhaps have to clear up one thing. Overlord is not in a video game anymore. At the start of the novels and the anime, he was in the video game world of Yggdrasil Online, a virtual reality world that many use to distract themselves from the grim dark future of the year of 2138. So yes, Overlord is from the future, and at the moment of the server shutdown, wasn't locked out, but found himself alongside his entire guild base, the Great Tomb of Nezarec, transported into the new world, on the still nameless continent, of which only this part is really known and mapped. Now with that said, we don't know why he was transported. I personally subscribe to the very popular theory that the Dragonlords, incredibly powerful magic entities, use their native form of magic, of the new world, which is wild magic, or the magic of the soul, in order to summon world items. Incredibly powerful and very limited items that have the power to change the worlds of Yggdrasil Online, and only 200 of them ever existed. So presumably the Dragonlords had the ability to peer into different dimensions, at least at that time, but failed to realize that Yggdrasil Online was not its own reality but just a video game, hence why the spell misfired and the world items and everything around them, aka players, guild bases, monsters or NPCs, were also sucked into the new world by accident. But regardless if this theory is true or not, was basically reincarnated into his avatar's body, and all NPCs also became sentient, and the most powerful and rare items, the so-called world items, of which Nezarec possesses 11, are also frequently called wild magic by the Dragonlords, and have been shown capable of defending its users against other world items and wild magic at the same time, on different occasions. With that said, wild magic, despite once having been the only form of magic in the new world, has now become twisted and very hard to use, even for the mighty Dragonlords. Hence why, at least in my own opinion, they can just simply send the players back by reversing the wild magic spell. Now, wild magic is, as formerly mentioned, also known as the magic of the soul, and apparently oftentimes cost one's own life force or hit points in order to be casted. And lastly, this type of magic is dying out, since tier magic, the native form of magic in Yggdrasil, is so omnipresent ever since the first players appeared 600 years ago. And ever since then, tier magic became more widespread and commonplace, to the point that even young dragons are now learning tier instead of wild magic. And as the name suggests, tier magic is a magic system in which the potency of a spell is ranked in 1 to 10 tiers. Each tier is stronger than the previous one, and each spell is only found in one single tier. So for example, the spell Fireball is a spell of the 3rd tier, and the spell Vermilion Nova, a very strong fire spell, is of the 9th tier. This entire system, including many of its spells, again like Fireball, and many of its rules and limitations, are based on the magic system of Dungeons and Dragons, which was an inspiration for Overlord. And also the same goes for many of its monsters, skills and characters. But with that said, in contrast to Dungeons and Dragons or Dark Souls, tier magic users aren't bound to a limitation of uses per day of a single spell, like it would be for example the Kaysen Goblin Slayer, And Tear Magic users also didn't have to use their own HP either. Instead, Tear Magic is fueled by MP, or magic points, or mana. And lastly, the potency of Tear Magic is not only correlated to the respective tier of a spell, but also to the magic attack power of a caster, and any items or effects that could increase or reduce the spell's damage. Furthermore, spells could for example be casted 3 times at once, or boosted to the maximum amount of damage. For example, if the imaginary spell Bang causes 4 to 24 points of explosive type damage, maximizing the spell would make it so that it would always cause 24 points of damage, the maximum amount of damage, thus removing a great deal of RNG and luck. Spells could also be, for example, enhanced by increasing the chance of it penetrating magic resistances. And as stated in the example, spells also at least did 1 damage type. For example, Fireball is a fire spell, and Einsolgon, who has a 100% resistance against fire-based damage, would suffer no damage from it, regardless if he chooses to defend himself against it or not. Or spells, for example, could be widened in order to affect a greater area, and all of this is known as meta magic, or magic enhancing magic. With that said though, even Tear Magic hasn't survived in its true unpolluted form. Instead, it had been modified and built up and expanded upon. For example, there is now also a 0th tier of magic, which did not exist back in Yggdrasil, and that basically anyone, regardless of talent or aptitude for casting magic, could use. And there are also many new spells that have already been created, with many more being created each and every new day. For example, one could now summon paper of different quality, or make something float and follow you around like a very, very good dog. And this creation of new spells is something that didn't happen in Yggdrasil Online either, and most certainly not to that utility degree. And lastly, there's something called Super Tier Magic. Only people about the level of 70 have access to it. It is an incredibly strong, powerful type of magic, and it takes a ridiculous amount of time to cast it. And any caster is very vulnerable during the duration of the spell. If enough damage is inflicted upon him, the casting fails. Additionally, a caster of Super Tier Magic isn't allowed to move for the duration of the spell. And lastly, only one member of any party can use it at any given time. So to conclude the video, Tear Magic came from Yggdrasil, while Wild Magic is the native form of magic in the New World. Tear Magic is also now the dominant form of magic, while Wild Magic becomes more and more forgotten, hard to use, and obscure. Tear Magic is casted with MP, and Wild Magic with HP. And all of this likely happened because Yggdrasil's system has apparently overwritten the magic and natural laws of the New World, and what once was a game mechanic in the Old World became a real law of physics in the New World. And with that said, I say thank you very much for watching. I hope you now have a clearer picture of what exactly Tear Magic is, why it is, and how it works. Now at the end of it, I also want to say thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to Bad Guy Ye, Ben C, Chrissy, Crowdy0221, Sia, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Feralshivan, Guy with That Head, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jana B, Jason, Chromius, Legendarius, Lelouch wie Britannia with a Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Meruvek, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Normal Toad, O-Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantum, Personage, Primus 11, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rock Ed Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, and Zonegon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.